The first one is, why are there so many schools of Buddhism? What are their similarities and differences? People always ask this question. Some people cannot think why there are so many schools. And some others believe one particular school is far superior to other school, more genuine or more powerful. These are the beliefs that people maintain. We had to get rid of all this narrow-mindedness and misunderstanding. Different schools or different sects, not only Buddhism, some other religions are worse than Buddhism. Why there are so many sects or denominations in their religions? Now let us take Christianity. Not even 2,000 years. The Buddhism is more than 2,500 years. So I heard there are more than 400, all over the world, more than 400 denominations in Christianity. They have different opinions and views and ideologies. Why? But same God, same Jesus, same Christianity. Why there are differences? Let us take Hinduism. Of course, that is very old. Actually, it is Indian culture, more cultural. Practices, philosophy, psychology, science are very vast. Hinduism or Hindu philosophy is a vast subject as far as philosophy and psychology and various other subjects are concerned, like astrology and astronomy and cosmology, very rich. So it's quite natural that they have different opinions regarding their concepts and beliefs and traditions and practices. Nobody knows how many hundreds of denominations are there in Hinduism. At the beginning, Islam was divided into two, only into two. But today, there are so many fundamentalists, give different interpretations, and Orthodox Muslims do not agree with them. Different opinions come from Saudi Arabia and Iran and Pakistan and Malaysia. One group cannot agree with another group. They too have different opinions. So now you can understand why there are schools or sects in religion. So when we come to Buddhism, I think you have heard the Buddha did not introduce a religion. You must learn this. The Buddha did not introduce a religion. Then what did he introduce? He introduced or he preached the Dhamma, the Dharma, the method for us to learn, to understand, to practice in order to get rid of our unsatisfactoriness in our life. That is the purpose of Buddhism. But later, we have developed, expanded this way of teaching or this dharma into a religion. So today we have to use the word religion because all the others also use the same word. So Hinduism also a religion, Christianity also a religion, Islam also a religion, so Buddhism also a religion. Then, when we come to the definition of this word, religion, according to the dictionary, those days, when they started to write, interpret this word, they have given very limited interpretation for this word, religion. That means belief in God, praying and worshipping to God, or binding or rebinding man to God. These are the main interpretations that they have given to this word religion at that time. Today, when you read modern dictionaries, you can see how many interpretations are there, how many things they have added into this word. In fact, at the beginning, belief in God, capital G, but today they use belief in God, simple G, and gods, not only one God. Can you imagine the way how they are going on changing? So there is no such a ready-made answer to this word. Now if we introduce this word, Buddhism is a righteous way of life for man to live peacefully, to find out his peace and happiness and salvation. Then we can introduce Buddhism also as a religion. Not only belief in God, not only worshipping and praying to God. These interpretations also very important. So now, the problem is, when you study the history or the development of Buddhism, for nearly 100 years after the passing away of the Buddha, they never had any schools in Buddhism. They follow the teaching of the Dhamma and the Vinaya taught by the Buddha, without any particular school, as the followers of the Buddha, that's all. 100 years after his passing away, a group of young monks who could not agree or who could not follow the strict rules or the Vinaya rules or disciplines introduced by the Buddha, wanted to violate. Violate means to break, saying that it is impossible for them to practice all these minor rules. Actually, they are not belong to any immoral or bad or wicked or harmful act. Way of life regarding their food and clothing and daily routine. No one can say they are bad or immoral. Even then, such rules or disciplines belong to Vinaya. So when they wanted to violate this minor thing, the elderly monk did not agree with them. So they wanted to have a religious council 100 years after. During this council, the elderly monks decided not to change anything. We must try our best to practice, to follow what the Buddha taught. Then the young monks could not agree with them. So they did not create any divisions immediately, but later germinated the idea of the formation of another schools of Buddhism. Now this is the beginning. Then went on developing, and more followers, the disciples, the monks. Remember, the monks started this. The Buddhist lay people have nothing to do with this. They have not done any division. Only monks. Lay people were the followers of this monk. Then 200 years after this, after that particular convention, the elderly monks found out many changes have taken place. Then they thought this is not a joke. They can completely misinterpret, distort the basic teachings of the Buddha. This is during Emperor Asoka's time. So the emperor promised to give his full support, then decided to hold the third conference. The first one 3 months after the passing away, no controversy. Then the second one 100 years after. Now this is the third one, 200 something. There they have found out. What happened? When Buddhism was flourishing all over the country, when more and more people come and embraced, and when the monks started to get more support from the public, many of those Brahmins, Hindu Brahmins, who were against this religion at the beginning, later decided to come and join, to become monks. So they have become the monks and the followers of the Buddha. So what happened? In the name of Buddhism, they started to preach, to introduce some of those Hindu and Brahmin methods and practices and beliefs. This is the beginning of the pollution, distortion, misinterpretation of the basic teachings of the Buddha. So during this council, they discussed many of those distorted and certain things which they have incorporated into Buddhism, and they have decided to discard, not to accommodate those practices as Buddhism. Take for example, when you read certain discourses, such as Brahmajala Sutra, very long one in Digha Nikaya, Mahaparinibbana Sutta, the last sermon, also very long one. There are many where the Buddha tried to point out that certain practices that they had in India at that time, in the name of religion, as religious practices and religious belief, the Buddha says, it is not advisable to practice these methods or systems as religious way of life. Some of them astrology. The Buddha did not deny astrology. It is a scientific subject, but nothing to do with religion. It is not a religious subject. To many others it is a religion. Then soothsaying, fortune telling, and charms and mantras and black magics, occultism, mysticism. The Buddha says there is no religious value in those practices. So don't bring these things into religion. Religion is one thing. Those practices are for worldly life, for worldly purpose. What happened? Those Brahmins try to introduce these practices as the teachings of the Buddha. Although they have decided to discard those beliefs and practices during that conference, many of those monks did not agree with them. Now then develop further and further and further. Then the different schools of Buddhism started here and there, all over the country. Before that, we cannot pinpoint the name of a single schools in Buddhism. Different opinions, different practices, different belief. When they introduce from time to time, they have formed different schools and try to introduce their particular school as very genuine, very authentic and very powerful schools of Buddhism. And people just follow them. Even today, if anybody come to this country or any country, any monk from any part of the world, if people introduce this monk is very powerful, he knows very good mantra, he got powerful talisman, he can cure sicknesses, thousands and thousands of devotees follow. But in those practices there is no Buddhism taught by the Buddha. But people need these things for their worldly life. That is why different schools of Buddhism appear from time to time. So one group, one school says, not necessary to practice precepts and morals and ethics and Eight Noble Paths and all those things. Recite only this sutra, just recite enough. After your death you will be in heaven or paradise or this or that. One school. Another school, recite these mantras, very powerful, given by God, given by Bodhisattvas, given by the Buddhas. That is enough for you. Don't worry about your morals and eight precepts and meditation. Another school. Another school says, you better perform these rites and rituals and ceremonies, wash away all your sins. Don't worry about the precept and meditation. Then you can understand why there are different schools. The Buddha's advice is not to follow any tradition and not to believe anything just because your religious authorities try to introduce this without using your common sense and understanding. They may try to introduce that their particular school is the most powerful school in Buddhism. Then people accept it. So what happened? The teaching, the basic teachings of the Buddha fading away. People are dealing with all those practices that which we cannot find in the Buddha's teaching. But for their worldly life, these things are important. What is the purpose of religion? We have forgotten. The purpose of religion is to find out something which all the other existing worldly subjects cannot give, cannot contribute, cannot provide. Science, technology, academic knowledge, worldly knowledge, business, property. These are the things that people concentrate more. But by dealing with all these subjects, still people are grumbling, crying, accusing, criticizing, worrying and suffering. This clearly shows these things cannot settle your human problems. A religion is needed there. So-called advanced countries, scientifically and as far as their education, worldly knowledge and their property, their wealth, they are so rich, they do not know what to do with their property. So they have everything. But are they happy with their life? Why many of them are mad? Why many of them commit suicide? Why they are leading very miserable life? Why there are more immoral and cruel practices amongst them? You can understand this very well. So it clearly shows. People never concentrate, never think that religion is to pave the way for us to find out peace and satisfaction in our life. These things never provide either peace or satisfaction in our life, provide immediate result for us to entertain our human emotion. But at the next moment, the same emotion, satisfaction that we gain through worldly subject create fear, tension, suspicion, jealousy, enmity, anger, lot of problems. Then how to settle the problem? Through this. So if we can understand, the main purpose of the Buddha's teaching is for us to lead a noble life, respectable life, in order to find out complete satisfaction in our life, not to grumble anymore, not to worry for anything, not to create fear anymore, because all the other things that we are working for never contribute this. Then you can understand what to do. And then try to find out what the Buddha taught. What is the Buddha's advice? Just because people did not realize the purpose of religion, They went on giving different interpretations, adopting various methods and practices and beliefs from time to time. So many schools of Buddhism and other religions also come into existence. Now what is happening? A very big competition among these schools, among these denominations. They develop jealousy, enmity among themselves. Mahayana cannot agree with Theravada. Theravada cannot agree with Vajrayana. Vajrayana cannot agree with another yana. Jealousy. And when they talk, when they preach, when they write, attack the other schools of Buddhism. Try to show their one is the genuine one, correct one. This is our human weakness. Through religion, we try to expose our human weakness. Remember this. If any schools of Buddhism try to glorify that our school is the most powerful, energetic, correct school, they are trying to bluff you, remember that. If it is a genuine one, they never say like that. This kind of advertisement. And what is happening to Christianity? Certain schools of Christianity go and attack Orthodox Christians, like Catholics and some others. To them, those Catholics are heathens and pagans. Now see the way how they condemn their own religion just because of these different denominations and schools and sects. Here there is a beautiful advice in Buddhist philosophy. Very beautiful advice. In Sanskrit language, the meaning is very simple. Swapakshe vidyate raga, parapakshe tu apriya. Nirvanam nadigaccheti, nasivang dvandhacharina. The meaning. If any religion or if any schools of a religion try to develop attachment towards only his or their own religion or own schools of religion by condemning, accusing, criticizing the other religions and other schools of religion. Remember this. Swapakshe vidyate raga, parapakshe tu apriya. Hate and disturb, accuse other religions and other schools of religion in the same way. Then what will happen? If they are Buddhist, nirvanam nadigacches. Such people never get the chance to attain nirvana. By condemning another religion, condemning another schools of Buddhism, never get the chance to attain nirvanic bliss. Nasivang dvandhacharinam, such foolish people, blindfolded, never experience peace in their life. I repeat, remember this. This is the Buddhist attitude. By appreciating, developing attachments only towards my religion or my schools of Buddhism, and condemning, accusing, hating the other existing religions and other schools of my religion, I never get the chance to experience nibbanic bliss, be far away from nirvana. I never get peace, happiness in my mind by doing this. Buddhist attitude. I think in brief, this is more than enough for you to understand why there are many schools in every religion and how they started these differences. There are a lot of similarities. Differences are very few, but our human egoism, our greed, our selfishness aggravate the situation. Otherwise, differences are very few. Because of that, we develop jealousy, we develop enmity or hostility, discriminate, but differences are very few. Enough. Next one, remember, in brief, you can easy to remember. Next one, what is the Buddhist concept of heaven and hell? I think I have discussed, I have explained, but again and again we had to explain. Still, people maintain the same age-old belief. Whatever we say, in their subconscious mind, these beliefs are already crystallized, settled down. Now when we talk, you think, yes, it is true. Yes, it is true. But tomorrow you forget everything, go back to the same old idea. This is the problem with us. I am sure. Still many people do not know the correct interpretation, attitude, or the Buddha's attitude, or what the Buddha talked about this. Heaven and hell. Because religion is based or dependent on heaven and hell. If heaven and hell were closed down for the time being, all these religions also disappear. Because there is nothing for them to preach and talk as religion. They say, if you believe all these things, you get the chance to go to heaven. If you do not do all these things, if you do these things, you will go to hell. If these two things are not there, there is nothing for them to talk. But we can introduce, we can preach Buddhism without referring to heaven or hell, without depending on heaven or hell. Others cannot do this. I can challenge with anybody in this world whether they can preach their religion without talking about heaven or hell. To them, what is the purpose of religion? The purpose of religion is to go to heaven and to avoid hell. That's all. That's why they come and frighten you. If you don't follow this, you have no chance to go to heaven. Oh, you may go to. They don't say you may, you have. You have to go to hell. No other choice. It is sure. I told you. Can you remember what the Buddha taught to a group of young people when they came and discussed this kind of problems with him? What did the Buddha say? Can you remember? Yes, what did he mention about rebirth or next life or heaven or hell? What did he say? Who are those people? Kalamas, young group of young people, Kalama. The name of the place is called Kalama. So they came and discussed. Then the Buddha came to know that these people do not believe that there will be another life hereafter, after they are dead. That means no heaven and no hell. The Buddha did not try to convince, or he did not ask them to accept that there will be another life hereafter. Because people do lot of good deeds, do some service to others by thinking about their next life, by thinking about heaven. Otherwise they never do any service to anybody. They are so selfish. On the other hand, they never keep away any kind of cruel or harmful or wicked thing if there is no hell for them to suffer. Again, you can see how selfish they are. That means they do everything for their own benefit, but never consider, never think how others feel. They never think by doing some service to others that they can relieve their suffering, they can bring happiness and hopes and confidence without developing their selfishness as craving to go to heaven and enjoy their life by doing some service to others. How can they maintain their understanding if they are crazy and greedy to go and enjoy their life in heaven at the cost of little bit of services they have rendered towards others? Is it not selfishness? You say, if you do this, you can go to hell, heaven. Again, you don't like to hurt or disturb others or kill others or destroy others, thinking that you have to suffer in your next life in hell. Therefore you try to avoid this. But you never developed kindness, compassion and understanding, sympathy towards others, how they feel when you disturb others, how they feel, how they suffer when you try to rob them, kill them, rape them. You never think in that way. You think, if I do this, I have to go to hell. Therefore, I don't want to do this. Now you can see the Buddha's way of teaching, whether you can appreciate or not. He tried to cultivate, develop your understanding. Why you should not do certain things and why you should do certain things, without depending on heaven, without depending on hell. Whether they exist or not, it is immaterial. Let them exist. We don't want to say there is no heaven, there is no hell. We cannot say. But we create. So the Buddhist attitude toward hell and heaven is this. There are no such ready-made places located or situated somewhere, either under this earth or above. Always we say, for good things above, but we do not know anything. We are completely in the dark, depend on our imaginations and beliefs, but we do not know anything. As far as suffering is concerned, I say here, to go down, to suffer. That means hell. This is the belief created by primitive people in this world who could not understand anything about life and life hereafter. And religionists have borrowed these ideas and recorded in their holy book, introduced as a divine message given by God. This is the belief maintained by primitive people. The Buddha wanted to point out. He said, remember this, the hell is not located under this earth. Hell is not situated under the great ocean or anywhere. It is not a ready-made place. It is not a place created by God or devil. And there is nobody to send you there. Whatever I say, whatever method I adopt, however I shout, you still maintain the same thing. Yeah, you cannot get rid of this. I can go on shouting another 20 to 30 years, still you maintain this. Then what is the Buddhist? Can we say there is no hell? No, it is wrong. Definitely there is. When you read certain discourses, of course very seldom you read the basic teaching, the discourses of the Buddha, is Majjhima Nikaya Sutra Pitaka, a discourse, where the Buddha mentioned this. He said he used this word, only foolish people, he used this word. Only foolish people believe that hell is located under this earth, but not thinking people. That is why I told you primitive people have introduced this belief. To create fear, to stop their bad thing, frighten them. Then they stop. So religionists or religious people use the same language for us, to train us, to create fear in our mind, not to do bad things. If you do that, you have to go to hell. The Buddha did not agree with this technique. He said, we must make them to understand why they should keep away from these things, not because of punishment or hell, but by considering how many people have to suffer because of your bad action, bad deeds, cruel, selfish act. When you think in this way, then you give a chance for your mind to think Otherwise you never think, all the while thinking about heaven and hell, that's all. No thinking there. The Buddha has given few parables also. If you cannot understand, he says, you must consider in this way. How I feel when others try to come and kill me, rob me, disturb me, bluff me, I can understand how I feel. Then you know, you can understand why it is wrong, why it is bad. Because others also experience the same feeling. So it is not necessary to talk about hell for that, to understand why it is bad. Again, heaven. Heaven also. Again, heaven. Heaven also, not a particular place. Of course, different religions, religious groups have monopolized as their father's property. Heaven is their father's property, that's all. Others cannot enter into that. There's a gate, they keep the key. You cannot go. This is the way how they come and preach you. If you want to go to heaven, you must have their qualification. You must go with their certificate. Then open the gate. The Buddha was the only teacher at that time who opened this gate to everybody, irrespective of their religion, even those who have no particular religious label. Religious label is not important, whether you are Buddhists or Muslims or Christians or Hindus or this or that. That is why his teaching is called Dharma. Dharma means noble, respectable life. So if you can lead a respectable life, noble life, without any guilty feeling in your mind, you are entitled to experience any kind of heavenly bliss. No one can monopolize this heaven. It is open to everybody. Now this is the Buddha's attitude. There is nothing to baptize. Then, in conclusion, I had to explain whether we are going to accept that there are certain places that we can introduce as heaven and certain places as hell. This is the important thing. Otherwise, you create misunderstanding. So you should not think, as Buddhists, we do not believe that there is heaven or there is hell. If you think in this way, you are wrong. On the other hand, you have to think, these so-called heaven and hell are not located in any particular area or country or planet or galaxies. This is the correct interpretation. Then where do they exist? Heaven and hells exist everywhere where there are living beings. Whether they are humans or animals or ghosts or spirit or birds or devas or brahmas or any other kind of living being. In certain areas where these living beings exist, they experience more suffering. Whether they are humans or animals or devas, when life becomes more miserable, physically and mentally, then remember they are in hell. There is no separate place for them to go and suffer and come back. In certain areas where those living beings experience more pleasurable, more peaceful, happy life, such places we have to accept as heaven. So heaven and hells are everywhere. After our death, existence or rebirth again take place in one of those places, either as human beings or devas or animals or this or that. Then our sufferings or our pleasurable or miserable states of life depend on our own action here, our way of life here. There is nobody to handle us. This is the way how Buddha has introduced. That means if we do bad things, it is natural. Our life becomes miserable. It is natural. It is not a punishment that comes from a god or from a devil. It is natural. If you do some service or good deeds to others, definitely we can have a pleasurable, peaceful, contented life. That is also natural. Not a reward given by God. I can refer to the Buddha. Remember this saying. The difficulty with you cannot remember the language, the quotation, references, authenticity. Where the Buddha said like this. Dānaṁ khalu sabhāvena sagga manusa bhogadam parināma vaseneva hotu mokkho upanissa. This is the answer. There is no God, no devil behind here. He says, by nature, whenever you do some good deeds, like charity and doing some service to others, the outcome or the effect of your good action is that you may experience a heavenly bliss and very favorable, pleasant, fortunate human life. That means when you become human beings, you can lead a more happy and prosperous life than others. That is heaven. Then when you become any other forms of living beings such as Deva, they do exist. But we don't regard those places as where they experience so-called heavenly bliss, everlasting, unchangeable, immortal. There are no such word. If rebirth takes place in such places, there they experience more peaceful, more calm and serene and nice life. But all are changeable from time to time. This is called heaven and hell from the Buddhist point of view. No such ready-made place, no eternal places, no everlasting or immortal life in heaven or hell. I heard. Now, some other religionists also discussing this matter very seriously. Because when we talk, we always refute, reject the belief that they try to introduce as eternal hell, no end. For a minor mistake that we have committed here, after our death, we have to suffer forever. Can you imagine the meaning of this word forever? So the Buddha says, suffering takes place according to the gravity or the degree of our bad deeds. Maybe few years, or a long period, or a short period, according to our action. So there is no such thing as eternal or everlasting hell. We always criticize this because it is wrong. Not only Buddhists, many other scholars also criticize this. Now they are discussing this very seriously to withdraw this eternal hell. You can hear in time to come, no more eternal hell in their religions also. Because they knew their concept is wrong. So the Buddhist attitude toward heaven and hell, then you can ask this question. There are so many Buddhist books and so many monks who preach about heaven and hell. Yes. But you cannot find the Buddha word, the word uttered by the Buddha, to tell us that hell is there under this earth, heaven is there for us to go and enjoy forever. But all these interpretations, exaggerations and illustrations were given by the disciples from time to time, just like other religions, to educate you. Otherwise, you never agree to do some good deeds if religions never preach you about heaven. You never, because you are very selfish. And you never stop your bad deeds if religious people never talk about hell, that you have to go and suffer. It is an education. We can test this tomorrow. Supposing if this government withdraw army, police and existing law in this country for 24 hours, from tomorrow morning up to next day morning, the government, they say, we want to test you, whether you uphold your commandment and your five precepts and your religious principles, whether you behave as gentlemen, as real human beings. We want to see. So no army or navy or the police to come and arrest you for anything. And no law, no court cases. There is nobody to arrest you. If you like, you can do anything whatever you like. I think within 24 hours, they will ruin the whole country. In spite of all these forces, army and police and the law and punishment and capital punishment, death penalty, still cannot control. Still cannot control. Religion also preach. No one can control this. And now you can understand why religious people illustrated heaven and hell to educate people, to keep away from bad things and to do good things. But there will be a day that when you use your common sense and intelligence and understanding, you will come to know these are the illustrations. for us to learn. Now we know actually what it is. Why? The reason is this. So the Buddha never adopted this kind of technique. Direct approach, without hiding anything. He never used sugar-coated words when he wanted to preach. That is why people say it is difficult to understand, difficult to practice, because a direct approach to the truth. Now you know where heaven and hell are. Don't say, according to Buddhism, there is no hell, there is no heaven. Don't say, then you go to hell, you know. Don't say like that. You mislead others also. Next one. What is the Buddhist concept of fear, punishment, and reward of God? Now this one is very simple. The Buddhist attitude: fear, punishment, and reward. Religion was originated in the man's mind at the beginning because of fear. When the thinking power developed in the human mind, according to anthropology, this human life is a gradual development. When the thinking power started to develop, certain phenomena, natural occurrences, incidents, disturbed the human mind. But they could not understand how these things happen or take place. So they went on thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking, don't know how many hundreds of years or how many thousands of years. But according to their experience, imaginations, understanding, limited understanding capacity, they thought or they believe that there must be some sort of supernatural, powerful authority in this world. These occurrences, incidents, take place through their influence. This is the origin. Let us take earthquake or volcanic eruption, epidemic. Death, sicknesses, certain other misfortune. There must be something behind. Unknown external forces or sources. Later, they divided these forces into two groups. All the unfortunate, unpleasant, miserable incidents take place due to the influence of devil or ghost. And all the good things happen to us because of God. Favorable things, divided into two. For that, I can give a very meaningful incident. Nearly 50 years ago, in a country, so it is a Buddhist country today, every year, many people experience during a certain period cholera epidemic. Majority at that time, certain areas in that country, suffer from cholera. So what do they do at that time? In every house, they hang a piece of iron, and day and night they are going on beating this piece of iron. So their belief was, during this period, a devil enter into this country, this area. So devil create this sickness. To frighten or to chase away this devil, they started to beat this gong. Anyway, medical science was advancing at that time. Then some medical officers approached them and told them, actually this sickness was not created by a devil. It depends on the water that you drink. You say, what rubbish are you talking? Let's call the medical officers. You know how many hundreds of years we have been practicing this. We have strong belief. It is due to the influence of a devil. They did not believe. Then what happened? All right? Then they have collected some water and pour into a cup, and using this glass and show them the virus or bacteria or germs or these are the devils. Not only one devil, so many devils are there. Then they realize that it is true. So the belief those primitive people had about all these incidents are exactly like this. So many religionists have recorded this belief in their holy books and try to introduce as a religious belief. So the Buddha tried to analyze, explain the real nature. So the fear is the main cause. So belief in God, belief in devil, belief in ghost, all these things started because of fear. Fear appears in our mind because of our ignorance. We are very ignorant. We do not know many things in this world. Because of this ignorance, we create our own imagination. That imaginations harbor, develop fear. Why do we develop fear? Because of our craving. Then started to pray, to sacrifice to devil by slaughtering animals and burning this and that, sacrificing to get rid of the problem from devil or ghost, and offering certain things to God and worshipping and praising and appreciating Him, asking reward or protection, blessing. So the fear is the main cause of religion. There is one particular discourse given by the Buddha. It's called Bhaya Sutra. Now there he mentioned how fear appears in the man's mind because of his craving and imagination. So if you can develop your understanding, then you can reduce fear and imagination. That is why he started his dharma, his mission, with right understanding. 8 noble paths. First item, sammaditthi, right understanding. If right understanding is there, when you develop in our mind, that fear also reduce, ignorance also reduce, imaginations also reduce, selfishness also reduce. This is called dharma. So the solution is praying and worshipping and offerings and sacrificing this so that is not recognized, accepted by the Buddha, but by all the others. But still they maintain this. Then fear and punishment. This one is very difficult to take out from the man's mind. Maybe well educated, scientists, philosophers who have mastered the whole teaching of the Buddha, still this ignorance is very deep, deeply rooted. This belief remains in the mind that God will punish us. Very difficult to get rid of this. The trouble is this: we do not define this word God. We transform or mold the figure of a person when we use this word God. That is our weakness. Now if we can introduce this word, God, as a natural force, natural phenomena, a cosmic law, without introducing as a person, then there is no problem. It is true. Punishment means a reaction, the effect, the result. That is called punishment, bad thing. So the natural law that exists in this universe naturally create bad effect. But according to our ignorance and interpretations and beliefs, we think that there is a person who punishes us according to our bad deeds. This is the mistake. Now, electricity. You must understand. We must teach to our children also not to touch the barbed wire, electricity. If you touch, you get electric shock. That is learning. That is right understanding. Because of this right understanding, I don't want to touch this one, because I know if I touch this one, I get the shock, I may die. Assume by neglecting this law, either accidentally or due to my negligence, I touch this one. Then I get the shock. That is the punishment. So this punishment was not given by a god or devil. I have violated the existing law. I abuse my right understanding. Then I have to suffer. I may die. That is what the Buddha said. But unfortunately, people cannot understand that. To them, there must be someone to handle this, to punish or to reward. Again, reward. What is reward? There is nobody to reward us. Good begets good, bad begets bad. The former Prime Minister of India, Mr. Nehru, I really respect him. He's a first-class rationalist. Although he was born in a very orthodox Brahmin's family, he says, I don't believe all those things what people have written in their holy books. But I believe one thing. Good begets good, bad begets bad. It is natural. I strongly believe this. Earlier, 2500 years ago, the Buddha, or the one who introduced this, without depending on your holy book, without depending on your holy father, without depending on divine power, without depending on any external agency, you can understand. If you do bad thing, how you have to experience bad effect. And if you do good deeds, how you can experience the good result. I am telling you according to my own experience, not as a divine message. So this is not a punishment from God, not a reward from God, but your own action. Kammang satte vibhajati yadidang hina panitata. Chula Kamma Vibhanga Sutra. Here the Buddha says, it is your own karma. Karma means your own action. Action means in three ways. How you think, how you talk, how you do your thing. This is called action. In Pali it is called karma. So this karma, your thought, your word, your deeds, become karma. This karma is responsible for you to experience either good result or bad result. So simply by praying and worshipping and asking forgiveness from another person after committing all sort of bad thing, the Buddha says, impossible for you to escape. So your duty is to learn this earlier, before you commit such evil deeds. That is called right understanding. Only 3 questions. These are very important things if you can understand and think and analyze to avoid a lot of misunderstanding, misinterpretation. Yes, 2 more, next Friday. Akasattha Buddhatta Devanaga Mahidika Punyantang Anumoditva Chirang Rakkantu Lokasasanam Ittavata He Sampatang Punya Sampadang Sabbe Deva Anumodantu Sabba Sampatti Siddhya Devo Asatu Kalena Sassa Sampatti Tuche Pito Bhavatu Loko Te Raja Bhavatu Dhammiko Idango jati nango tu sukitavantu nyatyo imina punya kammena mami bala samagamo satang samagamo tu yava nibbana pattiya.